Master your mind or you will become a slave to it. What if I told you that your worst enemy lives between your ears? Not the government, not your ex, not the economy. Your mind, left unchecked, is the architecture of your own imprisonment. You wake up, roll over, and check your phone before your feet touch the floor. You scroll, compare, complain. You think you're in control, but you're not. You're reacting to whatever the world throws at you. Dopamine hit, emotional spike, sudden slump. You're being played like a puppet, and the puppeteer is invisible. That invisible hand, it's your untrained, undisciplined, noisy ass mind. We like to think we're free to choose our future, free to live how we want. But until you've mastered your internal world, you're not free. You're just a well-dressed prisoner with access to Wi-Fi. Nobody tells you this growing up. They hand you rules, beliefs, and expectations. They never say, hey, here's your mind. You can either build your life or destroy it. This essay is about that truth. The one most people don't want to hear. Your mind is the first kingdom you must conquer. Not your job, not your bank account, not your body. Because if you don't own your mind, someone or something else will. And once that happens, you're not living. You're performing, reacting, obeying. Welcome to the invisible slavery that looks like freedom. Let's break out. Most people don't lose in outer world. They lose inside, long before they ever take a swing. They never start that business, never pursue that relationship, never change cities. Not because they can't, but because their mind feeds them one thought. You're not ready. Or worse, who do you think you are? They believe it. The problem is your mind isn't always on your side. Left untrained, it's a fearful, lazy, insecure narrator that repeats old programming like a broken record. He plays the same playlist every day. What if I fail? They will laugh at me. It's too late. Maybe tomorrow. If you heard someone on that street say that to you, you punch them. But when your own mind whispers it, you obey. Here's the truth. Your mind will fight against anything that threatens your current identity. And growth always threatens your identity. That's why changing your life feels like war, because it is. But the battlefield isn't out there, it's inside. Let me give you an example. I once knew a guy, smart, talented, potential pouring out of him. He wanted to start a brand, had the skills, had the audience. Every time we spoke, it was the same story. I'm just waiting until I feel ready. It's not the right time. I want it to be perfect. Years passed, nothing launched, nothing built. He still talks about it like it's some prophecy, but he never shows up. Why? Because his mind fed him a drug stronger than heroin, the illusion of progression. Thinking, planning, waiting. All that mental gymnastics to avoid action, because action means identity death. That's what an unmastered mind does. It whispers comfort. It avoids risk. It sabotages you in the name of safety. The worst part, it feels rational. You are not your thoughts, but they're steering your life. Let me say something you've probably never been told clearly enough. You are not your thoughts. But unless you realize that, those thoughts will run your life, your entire life. Most people are unaware that there's a distinction between the voice in their head and the one they hear. They go decades without ever observing their thoughts. They just believe them. Every story their mind spins, every excuse it invents, every fearful prediction it throws out, it becomes law. It's like having a roommate who's constantly shouts, "You're not good enough." And instead of kicking him out, you make him a CEO of your life. "I'm too old to change. No one cares what I have to say. People like me don't win." Those aren't facts, they're thoughts. But if you don't pause and question them, they become chains. Here's an uncomfortable truth about these chains. Most people never choose how they think. They inherit it. They inherit it from their parents, from the news, from a culture built on fear and distraction. And then they wonder why they're anxious, depressed, unfocused, or lost. If you want to master your life, you need to start with this question. Is this thought helping me or hurting me? And then you need to be ruthless about cutting the ones that poison your potential. Let's make this real. Imagine your mind like a garden. Every thought is a seed. And I always say this to my friends, and when I talk about the mind and how it works. If you never pull weeds, which is fear, self-doubt, comparison, they spread. And soon all you see is overgrowth, chaos, decay. But if you plant with intention, tend to it daily, cut the lies early, you grow a mind that feeds you power, calm, clarity. Most people are walking around with mental jungles so overgrown they can't even see where they park their dreams. And you expect to be great with that. Let me be blunt. If you don't start mastering your thoughts, you will be enslaved by them. They will decide what you do, who you date, what you pursue, what you settle for, and they will always whisper, "It's your choice," even when it's not. Freedom isn't the absence of fear, it's the ability to say, "I hear you, but I choose differently." And that ability, it's a skill. It takes work, takes time and patience. But it's the first step to everything that matters. Here's the lie. If you have goals, a vision board, and a 5 a.m. alarm, you're in control of your life. Let me tell you the truth about this lie. You can't control your life if you haven't first mastered your mind. Stay with me. Most people are trying. I will give them that. They read the books, set the goals, drink the black coffee, do biohacking, post the rise and grind quotes. They think action alone is power. But let's get brutally honest for a second. If your thoughts are filled with self-doubt, if your emotional state gets hijacked daily by tweets, texts, and TikToks and other people's stories of their highlight or their life highlights, and you get jealous, if one bad conversation ruins your entire day, you're not in control. You're simply pretending. You built a mansion on sand, and when life throws a storm, which it always will, you crumble, you complain. It's not about the system, it's not about the tools, it's about the operator. Let me paint you a picture. Two people wake up at 5 a.m. Both have goals, both have plans. One of them moves with clarity, focus, calm intensity. The other, he's distracted, emotionally fragile, constantly seeking validation, and secretly terrified of failure. They have same schedule, same ambition, different outcome. Why? Pretty simple. Because one of them has trained his mind. The other one is just cosplaying discipline while drowning in chaos. Here's the uncomfortable part. The most productive looking people are often the most mentally enslaved people. They can't sit still, can't be alone, can't go one day without checking engagement or responding to noise. Their whole life is a series of reactions wearing a mask called grind. Control without mastery is noise. And noise isn't freedom, it's a leash. Until your mind obeys you calmly, consistently, without drama, you're not in control. You're chasing, running, reacting. The solution? You stop trying to control everything out there and start training what's in here. We live in a culture that treats emotions like commands. You feel angry, you shout. You feel anxious, you scroll. You feel rejected, you shut down. And no one questions it because it feels normal. But here's the truth. Just because a feeling shows up doesn't mean it deserves control. Most people don't make decisions, they get triggered, then react. They call it intuition, they call it just being honest. But it's not honesty, it's mental laziness dressed in emotional chaos. If you want freedom, real freedom, you need to learn the art of not acting on every emotion that rises. Let me say clearly, emotional discipline is the difference between a man who builds a life and one who burns it down. Think about this. A message makes you feel disrespected. Do you fire back instantly? You feel doubt before launching your project. Do you delay it again? Someone criticizes your work. Do you spiral into overthinking for days and making that your reality based on someone's opinion? Now multiply those reactions over 10 years, week by week, month by month, year by year. That's the weight of an undisciplined mind. See, emotions aren't the enemy. They're data, but they're not always truth. And if you don't pause long enough to question that data, you will act out of life that's not even yours. I once heard someone say, truth, strength is the space between trigger and response. That space is where your power lives. The longer you can hold that space, the more control you gain. It's like upgrading from a matchstick brain to a fireproof nervous system. And when you have that, people can insult you and you stay calm. Life can throw chaos and you move with clarity. Discomfort shows up and you don't run, you lead. You live from it. That's emotional sovereignty. That's freedom. That's what most people never build because they've never been taught to sit with their fire without throwing it. You know what's louder than affirmations? Repetition. Everyone wants a new life, but they're still running the same mental script they picked up at 8 years old. Still telling themselves, I'm always mess things up. I don't belong in rooms like that. I'm not someone who finishes things. And they wonder why they keep repeating the same emotional loops. Different city, different partner, same prison. Let's make it simple. If you don't rewrite your internal code, you will relive your past endlessly. Rewire your mind isn't sexy at all. It's not an Instagram quote or a podcast hype. It's war. It's daily, it's boring sometimes, most times, but it's the most high leverage habit you will ever build. Here's what it looks like. You catch yourself saying, I can't do this. And instead say, this is unfamiliar, but I can learn it. You get rejected and say, not now, instead of, I am not enough. You feel anxious and don't distract. You breathe, label it, and stay grounded. That's mental lifting. You're training your brain to stop sprinting towards survival and start walking towards truth. It's not fake positivity, it's deliberate programming. Because your brain isn't a mirror, it's a sponge, and every day you are either soaking up clarity or drowning in loops. Most people don't need a new life, they need a new lens. And that lens is built word by word, thought by thought, belief by belief, repetition by repetition, until it's default. Here's a paradox. The louder your mind is, the less likely you are to hear your actual calling. People think greatness is forged in noise, in hustle, in output, in a grind soundtrack. But go study anyone who's done something legendary, built a legacy, and you will find a pattern of deliberate silence. Cope in an empty gym at 4 a.m. Monk-like routines in the lives of billionaires. Writers who vanish for months just to hear one clear sentence inside themselves. They weren't addicted to silence because it was peaceful. They were addicted to it because that's where the signal lives. Let me break it down like this. Your mind is a city. Most people live in the middle of rush hour traffic, constant horns, chaos, pop-ups, alerts, mental noise. And then they wonder why they can't focus, can't feel aligned, can't build anything deep. But silence. Silence is like climbing to the rooftop of that city. Suddenly, everything slows. You can see further, hear clearer. You realize that the noise wasn't coming from life, it was coming from you. That's a gift of inner quiet. That's what makes real mastery possible. Okay, ask yourself, when's the last time you sat in a room with zero noise and didn't reach for your phone? When's the last time you heard your intuition, not your anxiety pretending to be it? When's the last time you heard nothing and felt peace, not panic? And when was the last time you didn't think about the future or the past, or how late you are for deadline, or how much work you have to do, and just be in peace and surrendering to this? You can't build something divine from a distracted mind. And distraction doesn't go away by yelling at it. It goes away by replacing it with presence, stillness, meditation, breathing. Greatness is quiet, not because it's timid, not because it doesn't need applause. Greatness is quiet, not because it's timid, but because it doesn't need applause. It's rooted, certain. It's listening to something deeper than dopamine. That silence, it's not empty, it's full of power, but only if you're brave enough to enter it. Modern culture sells freedom like a commercial. A villa in Bali, working from laptop on a rooftop in Lisbon, a watch, a car, a lifestyle. That's what they show you when they say success. And hey, there's nothing wrong with the aesthetics. But let me hit you with something no influencer wants to say. If your mind isn't free, no lifestyle can liberate you. I've met people with money, status, amazing body, six-pack abs, who are still mentally imprisoned. I was one of them. Trapped in anxiety, owned by comparison, desperate for validation. One harsh comment and their entire life, a sense of self collapses. That's not freedom, that's dependence in disgust. Let's redefine this word. Freedom isn't doing whatever you want. It's being the kind of person who doesn't need escape to feel okay. It's not the absence of struggle, it's the presence of choice in the middle of the storm. You can be broke but free. You can be in a 9-to-5 job but be sovereign. You can be in discomfort but undefeated. If your internal world is under your command, and no one can hand you that, not a guru. You can be in discomfort but undefeated if your inner world is under your command, and no one can hand that to you. Not a guru, not a coach, not a quote on a sunset background. Only you can earn that kind of mental independence. Think about it like this. Freedom is choosing your response, not reacting from your wound. Freedom is walking away from chaos without needing to burn it down. Freedom is choosing what to give your energy to and what to starve. And it's built through the work we've been talking about. Silence, discipline, mental rewiring, emotional neutrality, observation without obsession. That's not sexy, that's not trending, but it works. Because when the world shakes, freedom isn't the passport you hold. It's the presence of mind you carry. Imagine you've been given a Ferrari, a rare, handcrafted machine. It can hit impossible speeds, glide through corners, respond to every flick of the wrist with precision. But instead of learning how to drive it, you fill the tank with garbage, never change the oil, and scream at it when it breaks down. That's how most people treat their mind. They've been handed the most advanced operating system in a known universe, and they run it like a glitchy smartphone from 2007. Let's be blunt. Your mind is either a high-performance vehicle or a cage. And you are the only one behind the wheel. Think about it. Do you feed it the right inputs, the right books, the right conversations, intentional solitude? Do you run regular diagnostics, journaling, reflection, therapy, sitting with yourself, sitting with your thoughts? Do you let it idle all day in low gear? Mindless scrolling, gossip, worry loops? Do you train it to perform under pressure? Breathwork, meditation again, challenge, discomfort, focus, clarity, surrendering. If your mind isn't being cared for like a machine of value, then don't be shocked when it doesn't take you where you want to go. Here's a metaphor I want you to tattoo on your mindset. The mind is a Ferrari in a world full of bumper cars. But if you don't treat it like one, it will rust like the rest. A Ferrari doesn't run well if it's never stretched. Your mind is the same. It needs tension, it needs space, it needs fuel. And it needs a driver who doesn't panic when the road gets rough. If you neglect it, it becomes your warden. If you master it, it becomes your wings. That's the difference between surviving life and flying through it. Here's what no one tells you. Slavery of the mind is the most dangerous kind because it looks like freedom. You can have the job, the girlfriend, the watch, the followers, the smile, and still wake up every day caged by thoughts you didn't choose, habits you can't break, and emotions you don't understand. You obey invisible orders, doubt, guilt, fear, and call it personality or identity. They're all the same thing. You stay small and call it humility. You react, spiral, consume, escape, and call it normal. It's not normal, it's common. And the fact that it's common is the reason so many people die in a potential still rooting inside them. You don't need to rebel against society. You need to rebel against your own default settings. If you want to live a free, bold, grounded life, I can move this. You don't need another course. You need a mirror and willingness to finally ask, is my mind mine? Or was it built by people who didn't know how to live either? This is your call to revolt, not with noise, not with tweets, but with a quiet, unshakable decision to take back the power. Start with your thoughts. Audit them, challenge them, rewrite them. Master your emotional responses. Feel deeply but respond deliberately. Claim your silence. Not as escape, but as power. Because when you master your mind, you become the storm instead of fearing the weather. You become the flame instead of chasing the spotlight. You become you, unfiltered, unmanipulated, unstoppable. You become authentic. You become what you're supposed to become. This world doesn't need more success stories. It needs sovereign minds. Cannot pronounce that word. People who don't perform for attention but lead from intentions. You don't own the world of. You don't owe the world your hustle. You own yourself, your freedom. And it starts always with the decision to rule the 6 inches between your ears, which is your mind. Master your mind or be a slave to it until your final breath. The rebellion has always begun. The question is, will you join it, and when? You will realize that you are a slave of your own mind, or you have the mastery over your mind. Let me leave you with this. Most people spend their lives trying to master the outside world. Their career, their relationships, their body, their image. But none of it matters. If you're still a prisoner to your own mind, your thoughts shape your reality, your emotions dictate your choices, your patterns become your future. And if you don't intentionally reclaim your mind, the world will gladly program it for you. Discipline isn't about control, it's about freedom. Freedom to think clearly, to respond wisely, to choose your life instead of reacting to it. This isn't a motivational quote. It's a survival, because if you don't master your mind, it will master you. So pause, audit, train, rewrite. Your future doesn't need more effort, it needs more clarity. Master your mind and the rest of your life will start to align. So I've been reading a bunch of books about the consciousness and how the thoughts we feed, the thoughts we feed in our gardens, which are the seeds, and then we get to water the seeds whichever thoughts we feed from. And you have the power to make these seeds grow, whether it's seed of doubt, seed of power, seed of confidence, seed of worthiness. It's your choice. And by daily habits will become your future will be byproduct from your daily habits. So you have to be conscious and intentional with how you speak to yourself and what actually you have to do to become or to achieve the desired reality you truly are looking for or working towards. Hopefully this helped, and have an amazing day.